Hey, what's up, everybody? Michael Richards here with Elite Athletic Performance. I'm going to dive into probably the oldest question in the history of baseball and lifting weights. Should pitchers bench press? So stick around, should be a good one.
Hey, what's up, everybody? Just wanted to take a quick moment to tell you about our Patreon page. This is a way for you to support our channel with if you enjoy the free content that's coming out, if you find it helpful. I'd really appreciate you supporting us. $5 a month is all it takes, just to help to offset some of the production costs. The information is there, but these videos take about 20 hours of dedicated work to get from planning all the way to edited and downloaded. And so anything that we can do to streamline that will make the information come out quicker. We can churn out things and put more information out there and help more people. So obviously $5 a month is all it takes. If you want to support the channel more, I'm honestly working on ways to thank you for any larger support. I thank all of you for any support, but the $25 a month all access patron will receive some free downloads once we start making digital products. The first 5 people that join that, and then if you sign up for the $50 per month, maybe I'll give you a hug or whatever, but get 25% off merchandise and just basically every free digital product for now until the end of time. So I appreciate you guys watching regardless. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I hope you enjoy the rest of the video.
So first things first, who am I? I'm Michael Richards. I'm the owner of Elite Athletic Performance in Benton, Arkansas. If you care about my background, you can check out our website. Like I always say, my background is unique, but it's not awesome. So if you care, you can check that out. We don't have to spend time looking at it here. Before we get started, please, please, please like and subscribe to our channel. Like I said a million times now, starting a YouTube channel is kind of like pushing a sled through quicksand. It takes forever. It's really hard. It's frustrating. Likes and subscribes are absolutely precious. So I really, really, really would appreciate that. A devotional at the bottom as always. I don't talk about them. I don't read them. I don't want to sound like a preacher. Just read that, and would love to discuss that in private if you are interested. So first things first, why do people even ask this question? So there are really 3 main reasons that I've kind of pinpointed. There's more to it. There always is. But mobility and injury concerns are the first. So people do concern themselves with certain overhead athletes, which is, how we describe a person that throws a ball or performs anything with their hand over their head, that, you do have to obviously be able to maintain a certain amount of shoulder mobility to be able to do that in a healthy manner. So, and then obviously, the bench pressing, it involves the shoulders, and there are injury concerns there because we're guys and we want to push the envelope on that and lift heavy, and, everybody wants to know what your bench press is, and there is a larger injury concern when you are pushing the envelope on that. But we'll get into it a little bit more, and I say it a lot. You got to always remember this, and I've criticized Eric Cressy a little bit in recent years because I feel like he's getting a little bit disconnected. He's kind of you can tell he hasn't been on the floor with a lot of high school athletes in a while with a lot of his information. But one of the most intelligent things I ever heard him say is, he told me this at their Elite Baseball mentorship, is that you contraindicate the lifter, not the lift. There's nothing wrong with bench press. There are just some people that it's not good for, right? So there are some people that they need it desperately. Some pitchers that need it desperately. So it's just different for everybody. So the other reason is because it's baseball. I love the game. If you're watching this, you love the game. But you gotta admit, baseball's just weird. We have weird things, weird quirks. And in some ways, we're not as weird as we would like to think we are. And so I feel like over the years, if there's one thing that baseball's good at, it's creating dogma. And I just feel like that has some of it has definitely gotten blown out of proportion. So, and so people are like afraid if their kid touches a barbell and bench presses, his arm's gonna rot off with worms, and his babies will be born naked and all kinds of bad stuff like that, you know. So you gotta be careful of some of that, what I call dogma. And then honestly, the very best argument against it I've ever heard is the function of your shoulder blade, of the pitcher's shoulder blade. You know, our arms, basically the hand is a slave to the elbow is a slave to the shoulder blade. And when this shoulder blade is not functioning, you can see, like, when a person is moving their arm or whatever, if I'm moving my elbow, or if I'm driving my elbow backwards like this and my shoulder blade is not guiding that elbow like that, then I have kind of an empty movement that is a whole lot susceptible to injury. See it? And so when you lock down the shoulder blades on a bench and you are training the chest to move, or the elbows and arms to move, without that blade, the shoulder blade moving, and I hate the word scapulas and scaps, that's like turned into a buzzword, and God, it makes me so I say shoulder blade, but you know, your scaps, your shoulder blades, whatever, it's pinning them down on the bench, right? So you're teaching yourself to move without the proper function of your shoulder blades. I can see that. I feel like in a lot of cases, I don't really see the problem with just retraining the shoulder blade function, but I do at least see that argument, and it makes sense to me. So there is that. So now we'll get into the 3 questions. These are the 3 questions that I asked to kind of figure out if a person, this is kind of a starting point to know where to go and how to answer that question for a particular athlete. So, is there a previous injury? Now, the number one way to predict injury, nobody can predict injury, but if the closest way to predicting injury is a previous injury. So if there's already been a shoulder injury, especially one that manifests itself while the person was bench pressing, I probably wouldn't have that person bench press. I wouldn't have them do anything that caused an injury to a particular body part or manifest an injury. I really don't like the word caused when we're talking about, I've talked about that in other videos. You know, it's kind of like when your tire blows out, like the road didn't necessarily cause it. Now, it may have been a bad road and it didn't help. May have been the straw that broke the camel's back, but it wasn't the reason. And a lot of times that's how injuries happen too. So saying that bench press caused it, but if it happened while bench pressing, then obviously that particular movement with load on it the shoulder just may not agree with it. We are so unique. God built us so uniquely. We're His ultimate artwork, and there's so many different little things about our bone lengths and the depths of our joints and sockets and all that stuff is just so unique. There are certain people that can handle certain things, and there are certain people that can't. So if there's a previous injury there, if it makes the person's shoulder cranky, anything like that, they're just like, I don't like the way it makes me feel, then don't do it. We will use a weighted push-up. We'll use, another type of way. The one thing that I do, you want to make sure you're not leaving that area of the body untrained, and we'll get into that a little bit more late in the next one. I think that's a big mistake that a lot of people make. So number 2, is the athlete weak? That's really a big question, and I feel like this is where a lot of people miss the boat, because, and I hear about this even at like the highest levels of like Division I strength and conditioning. And I'll argue this until I die, and I don't care what letters they have behind their name. I don't care. If you leave a portion of the body weak, that is a weak link. And I mean, like, that sounds like the most duh statement that I could ever make. But like, if you bang weights, you squat 500 pounds, you can push sleds for miles that are 700 pounds, and then you only train your upper body with J-bands, what are you doing? Does that not feel like a weak link to you? The ball has to touch your upper body when you throw it, right? Right. So like, you can't leave things weak like that and expect them not to break. What's that? Louis Simmons, like, weak things break? Weak things break. If you leave them weak, they're going to break. So I would argue with the weak athletes, even if there is a huge injury risk with bench press and pitchers, which I don't feel like there is, the risk of leaving them weak is way, way higher than any risk you're going to run with them bench pressing. So if you have a person, especially your longer armed guys that are lanky, they need to put on weight, they need to gain strength, you are running a way bigger risk by not having them bench press and put on chest and size in their and strength in their chest and upper body. I believe wholeheartedly you are running a way bigger risk by allowing them to stay weak rather than while avoiding in the effort to avoid bench press because you're afraid it's going to make them hurt. Being weak is going to get them hurt a lot quicker than bench press will. Third question, does it make them feel good? And this is kind of like going back to the first one. If it bothers their shoulder, then don't do it. There's other options. We can do, and that really goes for deadlift. That goes for, the really tall guys. We hardly ever deadlift them straight off the ground. If they have a hard time getting down to a hex bar or the bar on the ground, they rack pull. That's just another way. They don't have to deadlift. It's not the end of the world. They just need to train their lower body so we don't leave a weak link in the body, okay? So keep that in mind. You don't have to get every single lift with every single athlete. We just have to make sure their bodies are prepared and functioning and performing at the highest level possible. So, as I previously said, previous injury, I kind of just went over these without even getting to these slides. So previous injury, does bench press irritate it? And like I said earlier, you got to be careful with that. If it does, then move on to something else. A weighted push-up with a weight on their back is a really great option for that, okay? So you can use that. Like I said, you can use some landmine presses. There are other ways to train the upper body and make sure that it's strong, okay? So is the athlete weak? Like I said, do the potential injury risks outweigh the dangers of being weak? Like I said, I just went over these in the previous slides, so we'll burn through these. If you're leaving them weak, you're running a bigger risk, like I just said. So, and does it make the athlete feel good? Like I said earlier, don't contraindicate the lift, contraindicate the lifter. If it bothers their shoulder, then don't do it. It's real simple. The other thing I would say is if you have a guy, for instance, like me, if for some reason somebody needed me to be a pitcher, we would have a really big problem because my shoulders are very stiff. I need a lot more mobility and I probably need to stop bench pressing so much, but I'm really good at it, so I do it a lot, right? I am the type of person that would probably benefit from skipping the bench press and doing some more mobility. I'm already strong in my upper body, but I'm way, way too stiff, right? So that's where I am a really good example of somebody who, if I needed to throw a baseball for a living, I probably need to chill out with the bench press. But if you still have good shoulder mobility and no injuries or whatever, the person is probably good to bench press, to do some type of bench press. It doesn't have to be a powerlifting schedule. You got to remember that too. All right, so last couple things to not do. All right, do not listen to anecdotal guesses from people that have no idea. And that sounds a little harsh, but it is what it is. I can't tell you how many times I've heard, well, I was talking to so-and-so's dad, and this kid's 9 years old and throws 90, and he doesn't bench press, and that's why he throws hard. That dad has no idea why that kid throws hard. I'm sorry. He just doesn't. And so taking that advice and trying to apply it to your kid is, just don't do it. Just don't do it. All right. So put every athlete in the same bucket. Going back to the contraindicating the lifter and not the lift, okay? They're not all the same. They're never going to be the same. So we can't go painting these kids in the same bucket. Some of these kids, like I said, they're weak. Some of them have long arms that desperately need to be stable. Some of them are like me, not many, but some of them are like me and they're already stiff. They couldn't even they can't barely touch their hands behind their back. They probably don't need to bench press. They need to get some more mobility, work in some dumbbell work to maybe build some mobility in their shoulders, but we can chill out with the traditional bench press. So last one, don't compare to professional athletes. I hear this all the time. I've even been guilty of saying it, joking around a little bit, but I've realized recently that people don't realize that I'm joking, and so I don't say it as much, but like Araldis Chapman bench presses. Yes, and he throws gas. Aroldis Chapman can also grab his elbows behind his back and pull his, God, I don't even know how he does it, and get his hands without letting go. He can do this and go all the way back here behind his back. I have no idea how he can do that. If you can do that, bench press for the rest of your life, you will be fine, okay? You've got to have both. You got to have the strength, you got to have the mobility. You can't have one or the other. One or the other is what gets you hurt. If you have the flexibility without the strength, you probably need to be bench pressing, right? Because now you have a loose tooth that you don't want to come out, and we need to strengthen it. If you have the strength without the mobility, like me, you need to build the mobility and leave the bench press alone. That's probably the best way to describe it. So, last slide, as always, please like and subscribe. We got, and when we screenshotted this, 273 subscribers. Those are rookie numbers. We gotta get that up. So please like and subscribe. Makes a huge difference to build our channel. I appreciate you guys watching. We'll see you in the next video.